All right, guys. Well, welcome to another episode of Wisdom and Wealth. I'm your host, Cory Procter. We have someone who's pretty awesome here today, a guy I go to church with who actually greets me every week when we go to church and has reserved spots for my wife and I because we have our third baby's a 1-year-old, and because his daughter he's got a grandbaby the same age. He's actually tried to do the same thing with his daughter, which is really cool. But I want to encourage you guys, if you haven't, go to the webpage, go to procapitaltx.com. Check it out if you're somebody's looking for our services, but also if you are an advisor who's looking to change shops, has a book of business already and has been in for a couple of years, we'd love to talk, and we're trying to grow the team. So go check out procapitaltx.com on careers with us and check it out. So it'll be good. But I'm excited to welcome Michael Browning, who is the co-founder of Urban Air, which, if you've been to any sort of trampoline parks, this is kind of a big deal, which we've had 2 different birthday parties at now. And then I come to find out that they were his, which is funny. But has an incredible story. We had lunch not too long ago, and it's always amazing to me, the guys that are the people that are right next to you, they have no idea, have done some pretty incredible things. And so I'm excited to have you on.
Nice to be here.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. So, it's Mike. I go by Mike,
Not Michael.
not Michael.
No.
Michael's my son, and Mister's my father.
Okay. All right. Mike Browning. We'll do that. That's okay. No, I appreciate it. But we get to see each other every week,
Yeah,
pretty much, and I'm thankful for that. But it's really cool. But what I'd like to do, if you're cool with it, jumping into, is you have a crazy history of the businesses that you got into. And then what I love, and we can get into all of it, but what I love is, and this is a common thing, and everybody that I talk to who has done well in anything or has been on the podcast, they're all about their family. They're all in on their family, which I love. And they're big in their faith, and they're some of the most insane workers you've ever seen in your life. And me being somebody in my background, I just respect that. The people that I came to have the best relationships were, when I was playing ball, were the guys that were in the weight room all the time, or busted their butt all the time, and were there all the time. And so that became the same thing in our business today, is the people that are all in, who you can trust, and they're just bought in. Right? They're all in for what they're doing, and they're fully invested. And so it's really cool to see. So anyways, there's a like attractness I think there's going on. But tell me, start at the beginning. I mean, you started off dairy, excuse me, the dry cleaning, right? Not laundromat, but dry cleaning, into housing, into cattle, into urban air. I mean, so you kind of run the gambit on professions.
yeah. We started out with an entrepreneurial spirit. Growing up, my father was a home builder, so it ended up working during the summer, and that business, framing houses, and went to college and made a great decision and asked for my wife's phone number. And when we got out of college, started a dry cleaning business worked in that a while, and then transferred over and started working for my father's home building company. And then my wife, Charlotte, and I started our own company, and we started building homes. She comes from a interior design background through her family. And then from there, we got back into business with my father, and he was leasing dairy cattle to a dairy farmer, and that kind of turned upside down. So we moved into the managing the dairy herd, which was we milked 464 cows 3 times a day in Teller, Texas. And I was driving 60 miles one way uh, every day. And while we had 2 kids, Charlotte was doing all the heavy lifting with that, raising the kids and family. And then we kind of realized that, that opportunity wasn't for a lifetime. And we went back into the building business, started building homes out here in the Northeast Tarrant County area. And back in 2008, when the financial crisis happened, my son called us up and said, "Hey, I've got this idea. Let's build an indoor trampoline park." And I went, "What's that?"
What year was that?
2008.
Okay.
So we put a plan together, and
Had the market already started dropping?
it was awful. It was, the banks weren't loaning any money, and it kind of dried up. A lot of the other builders were going under, and there was foreclosures all around us. And anyway, we were fortunate enough to sell our last spec home that we had on the market in South Lake, and we were just kind of scratching and searching and on, what we were going to do. And we knew that industry didn't have a whole lot of future in the near term. And so our son, like I say, called me one day and he said, "Hey, I was out and I saw this concept, and I think we ought to build an indoor trampoline park." And so we did the research on that and developed a plan, and Charlotte and I and Michael and his wife Melissa all got together and decided that's a step that we wanted to take. But the while we were waiting for our car take us back to the airport, we met. We came up with the name and came up with the colors of the business, and then we all agreed to ask Jesus to become our partner in the business. And in 2011, we opened up our first store in South Lake over in Commerce, off Commerce Street. That was our first urban air location.
So tell me how the first, because that's stressful, right? Opening a new business, trying to get this thing going. Even when you do have a business plan, it's not like you're like, "All right, God, help me out here." What the first year, 2, 3 years? Like how did it even flow? Was there a lull at the time, or did it go gangbusters right away? Or how did that even open up for you guys?
It opened up really well. It was way more than what we anticipated it to be.
Really?
And we were received by the community. They supported us. It was an interesting dynamic because of family. But we worked through that. There was a lot of, tears and heartache, and but we had a common goal, and but it turned out really well for us.
Yeah. Well, talk about that. That's an interesting dynamic. Is so working with family, right? And we all kind of have a dream, and I'm sure you guys are similar. But that's my dreams. I want to leave it to my kids one day. If they don't want it, you at least build it up where you have the opportunity to sell it if you can. But so there's a lot of people that do struggle with that in their lives, is the business with the family. What's a big thing that you guys have done well, or maybe even a learning opportunity where like you had to make sure you had to set expectations or keep everybody in mind on decision making, or what's a big reason you guys have won and kept family intact because as things grow, dynamics come to the table. So how have you guys won in that category?
Well, I think we divided and conquered. We recognized our skill set individually, and we delegated.
Okay.
We one person had more talent. For example, front of house, being the public face or the voice. Then we all decided that, hey, maybe that's not our skill set. Like for me, I'm a back of the house kind of guy. I that's where I excel. Um, you know, my wife Charla, she's just a joy and just pure hearted, and um, she loves people.
Yeah.
My son and daughter-in-law are the same way. But for me, I'm the guy who wants to crunch the numbers and grind on the process.
Well, I like that because it's easy for, I'm sure, one character in a lot of situations to want to take control over everything, right? Delegating has been a big thing for growth in our business. Tell me, were there paths along the way, the timeline from soup to nuts or beginning till now? What if you could look back and look at like some catalytic moments? You were received well by the community in South Lake, which is great. But what were there catalytic moments or moments where you were like, you tried something and this worked, or it was a critical factor? Like if we hadn't done this at this time, a moment like that where like this, we wouldn't have what we had.
Well, I think that's true for me throughout my whole life, and I didn't really realize it till while I was climbing the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
It's really after I stepped away pretty much from the business to realize that all these different ventures that I was in growing up is how God was preparing me for these new and exciting challenges that I would experience when we jumped on the unicorn of urban air.
Okay.
So it's been a journey. It still is a journey. But I mean, I think what we realized was that our customer was mom, and our user were the kids. And so I think that once we realized that concept, that we wanted mom to feel like her kids were safe, we wanted mom to feel like the parks were clean, and I think those two key points was a game changer.
You told me at the beginning of the thing, was it Charlotte that was sitting in the corner of the room trying to picture where she could see the kids at all time?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. They created, and that came from Charlotte and Melissa, that as a mom, so we were wise enough to listen.
Yeah.
And that was going to be very important to what we were doing and where we wanted to go. That we wanted mom to be able and dad to be able to participate in the joy that their kids were having in the park.
I thought that was huge because I tell you, a lot of what we do, even in ours, is based around the wife, around the woman. And, because you could have a guy that comes in here and say, I like him, but if the wife doesn't like him,
oh yeah,
it's not happening.
Yeah, those boundaries go up real quick, don't they?
She has ultimate veto power.
Yes, yes. And that's true, yeah, in life today about everything. It's, it's even in your cultural circles.
Mm.
If your wife doesn't like the guys you're hanging out with, that'll change.
Make a choice.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Well, I love that because building around her was such a critical piece, right? The feeling safe of your children. Would talk about, so received well, you built around the right thing, around the right person, anyways. But talk about scaling. Like, say this thing started moving in the right direction. If you don't mind, like, share how was hiring people, how was getting another location and setting that in motion, like in managing the first location, going 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 and so on. How were you able to scale well so that you didn't either overstretch the team, you guys, the family, or potentially cause something to downfall? Like, how were you able to do that effectively?
Well, we developed our original concept, right? And then from that we learned, how to expand the product. And then what we needed to change or improve on in order to open up new locations. So from our first location, it was only around 20,000 square feet.
Mm.
And from there, we wanted to do more things, be able to have one was parking. That was a big challenge for us. And we wanted to expand with new attractions and keep it the concept fresh and new and exciting. And so we went out and opened up our next location, really because of the fact that we just had other parents coming up and saying, how can I participate in this?
Mm.
What do you guys do? And so we went around and opened up 5 other locations, and then I stayed in operations, and Michael started on scaling the business into franchising and where we can develop other locations to get those interested parties involved and expanding, our footprint around the United States.
Well, so okay, talk about that a little bit. Where you guys had a team, but a solopreneur is a little different, right? Where you might I'm in a master class where even yesterday we had our coaching call on one guy's trying to make his first hire, and that's like spending his entire life savings. He was talking about, even though the program costs a good penny. And but it was like getting past. Did you guys have any of these mental blocks that you had to work through to really make that caused some really incremental growth in that, like even in operations, that you were over, or even on the scaling side with Michael? But was there some big mental blocks that you had to get over yourself?
Well, we had to get in shape. I mean, really, and we called it urban air shape. I mean, we were losing 20 to 30 pounds, during this process because we were working, you know, essentially 2 days in one. So we're getting up at 2, 3 in the morning and going to bed at 11 and 12 at night. So there was just so much to do for the 4 of us.
Yeah.
Plus, we still had families and kids to raise. And as you know, I mean, kids' lives go on. They're involved in extracurricular stuff and, activities, and then school. And there was a lot of demands that way, but we all still kept our eye, on the future, and we communicated. I guess one of the main things that we did, and we all again had a common goal, and so we divided and conquered, right?
Mm.
And we delegated, and then when it got too heavy for us, in certain areas, that's when we started to outsource or to bring on some additional,
Right.
employees.
What,
But
what was your first, I guess, big employee move aside from just operating a facility?
well, the big employee move was the fact that Michael still had a day job,
Yeah.
right? He was still working uh, for in Las Colinas for another company. So after our fifth location, it was time for him to come over and go full time and focus on the scaling, and that's when that really came. And when he came and it took off. So
When he made a full switch.
and then that's when we full switch. We got an office. We hired an admin and then an events coordinator and we actually hired my middle daughter. She came in and did all the graphic designs for us and helped with the marketing that Michael was doing, and then they started with the franchising. So we what we called the garage. Basically, we had an office building over just east of Main Street in Grapevine, which was an old garage that we converted into an office space, and from there, that's where we started to grow and expand
From the garage.
from the garage.
Now, did you have that? How many locations did you have when you got the garage?
I'm going to say we roughly had 7.
Okay.
So we were doing, we had 5 family stores, and then we had uh, another 2 franchises that we managed.
Now, were those critical? Like, did you have to create your own franchise model from the very beginning, or were you able to take applications? I'm sure you took flavors from your previous your previous businesses, but how much were you able to take, or did you have another?
It was developed basically from our operations manual was developed from our day-to-day operations of our first and second locations.
Okay. And that was critical. How did you guys record? Were you just hand jamming that thing on paper at first?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. If we had to, the rule was if we had to do it more than one time, we're saving that, template, and then we're reproducing it.
Yeah.
Got in swing, and as adjustments needed to be made, we made them and incorporated it into that document. And then that what we call the playbook was developed just from our operating experience.
See, that was something that ended up being super critical for me late. And I didn't think about developing that thing earlier on until a mentor had told me to do that. And Mackenzie in our business, she's developed a Bible of instruction for the next person under her. And it's been super critical. And to me, it was what I really loved about it was the repeatable process gives you confidence to be able to execute your job or train somebody else, right? It's like, I got to basically bring this down to where a normal person can handle it. And so that was a really cool thing for us when we really bought in hard to that and invested time into it. So I loved it because it was great with me, Mackenzie. She came on, and for us, Mondays are prep days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays meetings, Fridays wrap up. And so, or to like today's podcast, right?
Yeah.
And so what was cool was Mondays, she would have everything stacked up on my desk for all the meetings that week. And the first time she did that, it was like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Because I don't know if you like me, I like checklists.
Right. Open and close checklist. We had a checklist of how to set up a party table. We had a cleaning checklist. We had a bathroom cleaning checklist. We had a check-in checklist, how to check in your customers. It's just everything that we did was we made a list, and we had even had pictures and had it laminated. So as the party hosts were setting up the party table, this is how it was supposed to look like. He had X number of plates, forks, X number of balloons, tablecloths, napkins, wristbands, and your tab. I mean, just breaking it down. You know, from the birthday party, every step is just broken down and made it simple, and just follow your checklist.
Yeah.
And then there's always something, right?
Yeah.
So we just kept adding to the list, right? Tried to cover all the situations, but there were some unique ones that didn't make the list, but it was a great you know learning experience for us.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
But I loved it.
And for me, customer service,
Yes.
was huge. You know, you got to answer the phone. Mom wants at that day and age, you have to answer the phone.
Yeah.
So we had to set up a call center. You know, and just things like that. We just wanted mom again to feel safe. Wanted mom to feel like that her kids were going to be safe, and that it being that it was run by a family, it was a boutique type situation. Tried to instill that um, attitude.
Yeah.
Moving forward
Right.
with everything that we did. That hey, we care.
Yeah.
And we still do.
Right.
That's we hear you.
Yeah. That's a big, I think you went in with the right attitude anyways. And so starting there is a great play as opposed to what would the mom want versus what looks cool.
Yeah. Sometimes it wasn't always about the bottom line. Of course, that's what business is about.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't stay in business if you give away everything for free to all your new friends that you have. But still, you got to pay the lot bill and the water bill.
Yeah.
So,
well, do this. I hate to wrap it up, but if you could look back at when you guys first had that conversation, when you chose the colors and named this thing, knowing where you're at today, and you could look back 2008. This is almost almost 30 years, right? If I'm doing math. But if you could look back then, what is one thing you would tell yourself at that point, knowing what you know now about the business, or tell the family if you had that same experience?
I would tell myself to be more patient, more empathetic, more understanding, and be more sensitive to my family.
Just knowing it would take time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's using the saying that the ship, a smaller ship can go faster, but when you become a larger ship, you might be going at a slower speed, but it's going to cover the same distance.
Mm-hmm. That's what I tell people. They say you don't look like you're running that fast. I go, I got longer legs, man, bigger butt.
Right. But I mean, yeah, it's a process, and just like it's true all the way through the Bible. Of what Jesus does. When he plants the seed doesn't automatically grow and become a tree and start producing fruit. It takes time. It's got to, have roots and to be able to support the tree. And then the tree has to grow the branches, and the branches have to be stronger in order to produce and support the fruit. So it takes time and patience, and that's what I wish I would have had more of that when we developed Urban Air.
There's Tony Robbins. It was funny because Megan hates his voice because her mom used to listen to Tony Robbins growing up, but now she's liking him more. And he's in his, if you ever watch his Netflix, there is a moment where he talks to a suicidal kid, a guy, young guy. But the line he uses, he goes, everybody overestimates what they can do in a year, but everybody also underestimates what they can do in 10. And he was sharing this guy. He was like, you haven't been around that long and long enough to screw it up. So let's not screw it up. And it was really cool because I get that same way. I get so impatient where I'm like, I was just telling Chris before this, I'm like, I didn't hit the number that I wanted. So I'm like frantically like, how do we fix this problem? My problem. And even this, we're talking about our CRM systems and how I need to make it better. But then I find another guy in the business who's 10 times, 100 times what I am in size. And he uses the same system. And I'm like, God, so it's me. I'm the problem right now.
Yeah.
So,
well, you've identified the problem. You got it half solved, right?
yeah. So you got to fix me now.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, I find myself, I'm still a work in progress.
Yeah.
I'm a lot better than what I used to be, but I'm still not where I need to be or want to be. And it's a heart deal, man. As long as you got a heart, and you're focused on, where you need to go, might not know how you're going to get there yet, right?
Yeah.
We're still, figuring out that path. And I'm thankful for my wife. I mean, she's always played in the middle of the fairway, right? I'm the guy that gets in the rough and, has to whack out, the rough to get back into the fairway. But man, she's always been solid. That's second best decision I've made in my life. First was when I accepted Jesus at 6 years old. Second one was, well, I mentioned the asking for a number. That's got close. And then there was her, and then I'm just thankful she's kept me around, So, but yeah, she gets the credit because she's been the faithful one and the one that's kept us together as a family and focused on the future and, is God centered. And, without her, I would be
Nowhere.
living on the edge, out of control. But no, it's been a good journey. I'm really thankful for that. I'm thankful for our church. I'm thankful to be able to serve such a great community that we live in. And, every time I turn around, it's somebody, even in, GTX, there's like, oh, I saw you at Milestone. So, I mean, they're doing great things over there. But
Thank you.
yeah.
Well, man, hey, I love having you on. You are an awesome face walking in. We get to see it every week at church, and it was pretty. What I love is I get to see you in attitude in a different light, and then also see that you've done pretty awesome in another area too. But that's what I love is. I mean, I love guys that go after and get things, but I love that they haven't sacrificed their family. They have their faith but they're incredible workers at the same time. And so super thankful for you and everything you're doing and what kind of example you are for our people. So thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
It's awesome.
All right.